Yo, it's Elut. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing my first branded Synchro deck profile. This is a pretty standard list. There's really nothing about it that is super weird. But it's, my place to start talking about the deck for one thing. And if you haven't played it, I think this is a pretty solid list to start, at least to learn, and then learn what you like, what you don't like, and sort of adapt from there. But yeah, so I've been playing this a lot. And I will say, as someone who's very used to Branded Despia, every once in a while, I'll still fuck up this deck. It's so fun to play, and it's so easy to mess up, especially at first. But it's so interesting. So yeah, let's just get into it. So 3 Albaz, 3 Quem, and 3 Cartesia. I love seeing 3 copies of these two, because that's not really normal in Branded Despia. They're all good. They are all big parts of the Branded engine. And they all can be solid normal summons. Quem is probably the best normal summon, because you can send stuff to grave for your Bestials to banish and things like that, as well as the branded spell trap recursion plays if you would like. Cartesia can be specialed if you start with like Shroudion in your hand, or if you get Albaz to grave via Quem or something else. And Albaz is honestly an okay normal summon if you have no better option, because you can go into Striker Dragon, which puts him in grave, and then you can start your Bestial plays. So they're all great. You kind of want 3 Albaz for that stuff as well as just your branded fusion. So I wouldn't really change these ratios all that much, and I don't think most people are. I think most people play 3 of each one, and I do agree with it. And then just couple one-ofs. Shroudion, we love him, and the Mercurier. So I was playing Despian Tragedy when I first started the deck, because we also play things like Foolish Burial and Gold Sarcophagus. I kind of feel like Tragedy's not necessary, because your Gold Sarc target is usually going to be this, which can also get you to Quem, whereas Tragedy, if you Foolish or Gold Sarc Tragedy, you're only getting Quem, because we don't play Alibur or anything like that. So I don't know, I took out the extra quote-unquote brick. I don't really miss him all that much, but I do kind of get it. But I think these two are fine, personally. And then the Bestials, big Bestial count. So 3 Lubellion, 3 Saronir, 3 Druis, 1 Meg, Rip in Peace, and 1 Bestial Alibur. Bestial Alibur, the first thing I noticed when I was looking into this deck was that people were actually playing this card. Because I remember when this came out in, I guess it was Syac, and I was like, what the fuck? This is like the most useless card ever. Like, why would anyone want to play this? Like, it just seems so shit. And in Branded Despia, it is shit. But in this deck, it's really interesting, actually. Because, for one thing, it counts as Fallen of Albaz on field and in grave, which helps your Cartesia and things like that. And if you're fusioning using materials from field or grave. But he can be sent to the graveyard by Quem, because he mentions Fallen of Albaz. He can be sent to the graveyard by Saronir, if Saronir is sent to grave, because he's a Bestial. And he's also a tuner, which gets you into your Synchro 10s. And if you banish him to summon a Bestial, you make Dispotter, you can reborn him and make another Synchro 10, or something else, because he's also, the last part, is he's a dragon. So you can link him off into Striker Dragon or Seal or whatever. So it's so weird to me that this card actually has like legitimate utility, because like at first glance it seems like such garbage, but it's kind of cool. I was trying 2 Druids, but I think 3 is fine. You want to see at least 2 Bestials in your hand usually, so that's cool. The best ones, generally speaking though, are Lubellion and Saronir. If you have access to both, you can get your Regained and Beast quite nicely, or any other Bestials that you would like, because they both kind of do that in a different way. Saronir sends the Bestial to grave, Lubellion adds it to your hand, etc., etc. So these two generally are the ones like you want to see, along with probably Magnamut. And then Druisworm is like, hey, we'll take him when we can get him. That's fine. So yeah, I think that's pretty standard. We're maxing out on all of them, except for the Bestial Alibur, because you don't want to... I would hate to play more than one of him. I think that would be kind of weird. And then I was trying a couple different hand traps. I decided on 2. It feels weird to not main deck Ash Blossom, but I'm actually main decking 3 Nibiru and 3 Imperm. So Ash, you can, side it in if you would like, but I just feel like Nib is such high impact in this deck. And Imperm is just so universally good. So these are just the 2 I went with. You could swap them out if you prefer a different one or whatever. That's totally fine. But I really like this set of 6, personally. And then just the Gold Sark and the Foolish for consistency. Foolish is much more universal. You can Foolish things like Saronir, or your Albaz, your Shroudion, etc., etc. You could Foolish the Mercourier to banish with a Bestial as well and get your Mercourier search that way. Gold Sark, as I said, is really just for Mercourier, since I took out Tragedy. I might cut this for something else, but it's not the worst thing in the world, because if I have access to Branded Regained, and then I Gold Sark pretty much anything in my deck, any light or dark, I can trigger Regained and just draw something else. So it's not the worst. It's okay. I still think it's fine, but that's really only in the event that you draw this and Mercourier, which is pretty unlikely anyways. So for now, I'm running both, but I could cut Gold Sark in the future. And then branded stuff, Branded Fusion, branded in High Spirits, 3 of each, 2 white, 1 red, 1 Regained, 1 Retribution, and 1 Beast. So these 2 are because we're playing a bunch of Bestials. Retribution is just great to cycle through things, get stuff back to your hand from the grave, that's all cool. Branded in red is pretty standard stuff. I'm running 2 white because I think white is just kind of better in this deck. Since we technically play 5 copies of Fallen of Albaz, assuming they're on field and in grave, a total of 5, because it's 3 Albaz, Bestial Aluber, and Shroudion each count as Albaz on field or in grave. And if you're using one of those, you can banish materials from the grave as well. And since we're playing some other fusions in this deck, it's easier to just like blow materials using this to go into like Borreload, Furious, and things like that. So I think 2 is actually good. None of these cards, except for Branded Fusion, lock you to fusions either, which is important. So I think this is a little more important here, so I'm running it at 2. High Spirits, this is kind of a weird one. So High Spirits going first is really good. It helps you cycle things, and since we play so many dragons, we can pitch like a Bestial, an extra Bestial if we would like, or a Fallen of Albaz or whatever, and then we can send like Albion or Titaniclad to grave for their end phase effects, and that's really good. That's like actually kind of nuts. Going second, I don't super love this card. I will side it out if I know I'm going second, but going first, it's actually kind of insane. So for now, I'm running it, and overall, I do like it. I could swap it out for something else in the future. I was also trying in this slot, like 3 Dark Roller or like Forbidden Droplet or something like that, just to try it, but for now, I'm just sticking with the High Spirits. And then Branded Fusion is Branded Fusion. You don't want to just shotgun this unless you have kind of no other choice. But if you get disrupted pretty early on before you've made a Link or a Synchro, like if you bait an Ash with something else because they think like, I don't know, you're playing like a more Bestial like Dragon Link sort of deck and they Ash something else before Branded Fusion, then fuck it, man, we ball. But it's a nice power card, but it is not always your main play, which is a very interesting way of playing the card, which is part of what makes this deck so fun. So yeah, that is the main deck. That is 42 cards, if I counted correctly. And then we'll go to the extra deck. So, the links, Striker Dragon, Seal. These 2 are essential. I think if you're playing Branded Synchro and you're not playing these 2, I think you're trolling. Because sometimes you just got a normal in Albaz or something, link it into Striker in order to start your Bestial place. Sometimes you just got to do that. And that can very easily help you link up into Seal, which is 2 dragons. This is a great end board piece as well going first. Because when you tribute it from the field and then bounce something back, when it hits the grave, you can summon a dragon. which is awesome because that could mean you bring out a Bestial, cool, but that could also mean you just bring out Albaz and fuse with something on your opponent's field for a Mirrorjade. So that's cool. Like both these cards I feel like are really essential. And also worth mentioning is sometimes you just want a normal Albaz, link it for Striker Dragon, brand it in red, the Albaz, and then just make a Mirrorjade outright. Sometimes you got to do that too, and that's perfectly fine. And any of these in the graveyard with an Albaz can be a Mirrorjade through branded in white. So these are both really good cards. I think you absolutely need to play them in branded Synchro. I also, if I had the card, I would be playing SP Little Knight here, but that card's $100, so I don't have that card. And honestly, if I had $100 right now, and someone said you have to buy a single Yu-Gi-Oh card with it, and you can't use it for anything else, I'm buying a copy of Thrust before I buy SP Little Knight. Call me crazy. But anyway, these two are great, and I do think they're kind of mandatory. And then we'll just go through the fusions first. So the 2 Albion, the 1 Lubellion, and the 2 Mirrorjade. Again, if I had something like SP Little Knight, I would take out one of the Mirrorjades. But I also don't think playing 2 Mirrorjade is wrong, because there are so many ways to bring out an Albaz to fuse. Through Seal, through Quem, even things like Sanctifier or Rindbrum, or Titaniclad on end phase. Like, there are so many ways to, just shoot out Albaz and try to fuse. I think 2 Mirrorjade is fine, but if you have something better to play, then cutting down to 1 Mirrorjade is cool. I do think 2 Albion is kind of important, though. 1, to send off of Mirrorjade, just to search branded fusion on end phase, but also to go into Albion. Because by going the Albion line, even if you don't make a Mirrorjade, if you have a bunch of Bestials in your graveyard, you can go into Borload Furious, aka Walmart DPE. No hate, I love him, he's cool, but he is Walmart DPE. But he's super easy to make as well, through things like Albion, through things like branded in white, etc., etc. Because he just takes 2 Dark Dragons, and goddammit, that's like half our deck. So he's cool. He just blows stuff up, and that's cool. Because one thing you can do potentially is, go the Albion line, make him, and then he can just pop Albion if you don't have, if you don't need to like reborn Lubellion from the grave for anything in particular. You can just pop this Albion and something on your opponent's field. So then you get your Albion end phase effect. So he's pretty good. I do like him a lot in the deck. And then the 1 Granguignol. I think 1 is fine as well. Granguignol's cool. I don't really think I need to go over her too much. One thing I will say as well is Sanctifier, I think, is low-key better in this deck than he is in Branded Despia. Assuming you're not doing like the gimmick puppet shit, which I don't do because that's boring as fuck. But I actually really like him in this deck because he's super easy to make off of like branded in red and stuff, since you so consistently have access to Quem, Cartesia, and Albaz. And if you just have a bunch of Bestials or whatever in your grave, or even just like bigger fusion monsters in your grave, reborning them back along with Beast and Regained on the field can just kind of go nuts. So I really like him. I really like him in this deck too. But Rindbrum and Titaniclad, they're pretty standard stuff. Titaniclad is also really good since we play 3 Quem, and just summoning out a Quem on end phase, dumping Cartesia, adding Cartesia back to hand, just nets so much advantage. And since we're main decking Nibiru, we can make the 4K Titaniclad, which is also very funny. So I'm a big fan of that. And then our Synchros. So Dispotter, I do think this one is just mandatory, like straight up. The other Synchro 10 is Barone and Lulu. So Lulu, I think, is situationally a solid summon. You'll normally be doing that, cheating it out through Granguignol. I don't really find myself making Lulu because the way you do that is like Quem and Cartesia with any level 8, which is like the Bestial Lubellion or most of the Albaz fusions and stuff like that, which is not really worth. But if you cheat out Lulu as a quick effect, then that can be cool. And then the cool part about that too is if you have Regained on field, you banish this for cost, bring out Lulu, you trigger Regained to shuffle this back to the extra deck and draw, which is kind of nice. Barone, I just feel like Barone is the next best Synchro 10. I've actually thought about running a Synchro 8 in here, something like Draco Berserker, just because I think that'd be kind of cool. Because if Draco Berserker does banish like a light or a dark, that triggers Regained, and like that's kind of cool. He makes more ammo for this Potter potentially. That was just something fun I was trying. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's like particularly crazy or anything like that. Just something to note. Thought it was fun. Most of the time, if you're making a 10 though, you're going to be going into this Potter because you can reborn things from banished, things like your Bestial Aliber, and make another Synchro 10, or make your Link 2 or whatever. So these are all pretty good cards, and of course you can always just dump Lulu off of Granguignol if you would like. I think that's fine as well. But yeah, so that is the profile. Again, this is a pretty standard list. It's really nothing crazy, but I would recommend you try playing it if you have not tried playing it yet, because it's actually pretty fun. It definitely gets your head in a different space compared to regular branded. So let me know if you have tried this deck out yet and what you think of it, if you're having fun with it and all that sort of stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time. Peace out. Take care.